We doubled our membership base from 68 to around 145 over the course of those 3 years with literally no online presence advertising whatsoever, purely from word of mouth referrals and just having crazy low churn. Whatever presence you think you have, it's like 1/100th, maybe 1/1000th of the presence you think you have. Like, no one knows who you are.
Every gym owner thinks that they're competing against a guy down the road. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, most people in your town don't know either of you even exist. Your competition is not the guy down the road. It's them not knowing you exist.
I had someone earlier this week. She said, thank you for changing her life and being such a big impact. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I genuinely, like, deep in my soul, looked around and I was like, I am doing people a disservice who would love to be members here and have no idea we exist.
Welcome to the Barbell Business Podcast, brought to you by Big Little Gyms. This is a show where we deconstruct the tactics, strategies, and mindsets of successful gym owners and fitness entrepreneurs. Whether you're looking to scale your business, strengthen your community, or break through plateaus, we're here to bring you actionable insights and inspiration to take your gym to the moon. Today's guest has a powerful story, one that every gym owner who's ever struggled with growth will relate to. He's built a thriving gym from the ground up, navigated the challenges of running group training business, and cracked the code on growing a successful fitness community. We're going to dive into how he's done it, the key lessons he's learned along the way, and how he's continued to evolve his business. Let's get into it. This episode is brought to you by Big Little Gyms. Big Little Gyms gives gym owners the tools, systems, and guidance to scale smarter, generate more leads, and build thriving communities, all so you can take your gym to the moon. If you want to get more members, make them worth more, and keep them longer, go to biglittlegyms.com and book your discovery call today. This episode is also brought to you by Chalkit Pro. Chalkit Pro is the ultimate gym management platform that streamlines programming, tracking, reporting, and member engagement so you can focus on coaching and being the mayor of your gym. Use coupon code BLG 2 months at chalkitpro.com to get the standard 14-day trial plus an additional 2 months free at chalkitpro.com. Our guest today is John Gallup, the owner of Level WOD in Wichita, Kansas. John launched his gym in 2019, specializing in functional fitness and implementing a leveled model of programming to guide his members through structured progression system. I'm going to repeat that real quick. Edit. John launched his gym in 2019, specializing in functional fitness and implementing a leveled model of programming to guide his members through a structured progression system. John is no stranger to elite level coaching and programming. He's a CrossFit Level 3 coach. He holds a bachelor's degree in exercise science and graduated at the top of his class. When John started with Big Little Gyms, he had around 100 members and has since implemented the right systems and strategies. He's more than doubled his gym size, reaching a record high of over 230 members. But as we all know, growth doesn't come easy. John has had to navigate competition, member retention, and the challenges of scaling a group training model while maintaining high quality coaching. Today, we'll break down his journey from startup to success, the struggles he's faced, and how he continues to level up his gym. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. It's great to have you here. Let's rewind to back before you opened Level WOD. I know you had a whole life before being a gym owner. What led you to start? Well, let's start with this. Let's start with what you did before you were a gym owner, what life was like, and what led you to start your gym in 2019.
Yes. All right. So way back when I was a teenager, we actually started doing CrossFit style training back in like 2007, and I really enjoyed it. Went into the military as in the Marines from 2010 to 2014. And obviously at the time, CrossFit was continuing to explode worldwide, especially in the military. So naturally, it was one of those things that I kept pursuing and ended up getting my Level 1 in 2012 while I was still active, and used that Level 1 to start interning at a gym called CrossFit No Boundaries. And the coaching staff there at CrossFit No Boundaries was fantastic. I think they really did a good job of setting me up for success later on. But I knew even back in 2007 that one day I would like to open a gym. I knew even way back when I was just like, that's going to happen at some point. And so my first goal is to get into the Marines and become a sniper in the Marines. And then when I accomplished that goal, I was like, all right, it's time to move on from the Marines and open up a gym and take the experience I've learned through interning and coaching to apply those skills as a gym owner later on.
So what was your original vision for the gym when you did open it? Did you always plan on using like a structured, leveled system of programming like you do?
No, actually, we didn't find level method until fairly recently, a couple of years ago. Essentially, the progression looked like this. I got out of the military and spent about 4 years as the head coach of a CrossFit gym here in Wichita, and then tried to buy the gym. The owner wanted to retire. We couldn't quite meet in the middle. And so I was actually going to take a couple more years to prepare opening a gym. And I had so many members, though, say, hey, we want you to open a gym now. And my wife said, hey, if you're going to open a gym later, might as well open a gym right now when you have a following, when you have a base. And so we opened the gym day one with, I think, about 68 members. And that was in 2019. I think in 2021 was when we found Level Method. And that's when we really rebranded our name, our style, and also just kind of like our unique special sauce, so to speak, because it's hard to stand out in a market that everybody does some type of CrossFit style training. And I just really aligned with the Level Method system because I'm like super OCD and I'm also very analytical. And I knew the members would see lots of value and the coaches would see lots of value in their ability to track members' progress, identify strengths and weaknesses, and also to just give the members a sense of progression instead of kind of feeling like they're just lost in the sauce. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love Nathan's stuff. For anybody listening that doesn't know what Level Method is a company founded by a guy named Nathan Holliday. He's actually a partner with me on another business. That's not why I'm playing him up. I've actually known Nathan for a long time, since before we ever got in business together. But Nathan's just a brilliant guy and just really has a very logical approach to fitness programming that reminds me a lot. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, John, or you can give me your take on it. But my take on it, or my view of it from arm's length, is it's almost like a belt system for fitness. Yep. Belt system in martial arts, as you prove certain skills and you test out, you can get the next level of belt, which allows you to train with a little bit higher level of, in the case of martial arts, a better practitioner.
Yes. Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why it aligned. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is it. This is a direction we were going, because I did want something that was going to stand out and provide a better service for our members. And before I got into the like functional fitness thing back in 2007 or so, before that, I was really into martial arts first. And so it was just so natural in its approach to fitness. And the other thing there's actually two other things that are really interesting timing. One of them was I had just gotten done reading this book called The Power of Moments. And I'm looking at it on the shelf right now. But when I found Level Method, like it was like 2 days after I got done with the book, I'm like, that's it. Because like the way they level up and celebrate those milestone wins create powerful moments. And oddly enough, when they sent me their like welcome box or whatever, after I signed up, that book was actually in the welcome box, because they're also really big into that style of celebrating wins and powerful moments. And then the other thing that's interesting is, I don't know if you know this, but Nathan is there's not a whole lot of snipers out there. So I was a Marine sniper. Nathan's actually an Army sniper. So that was just really bizarre. I was like, man, we align on lots of weird levels. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense now. Having gotten to know Nathan, and for anybody who watches his content or meets him, he's very logical, very, very bright guy. And I didn't know that he was a sniper as well. So I was like, oh, okay, connecting more dots here. This is why you are like you are, Nathan. If he's listening, if he happens to be listening, I mean that in the best way possible.
In the best way.
Yeah. Great recommendation on the book as well. We'll have to put that in the show notes as well for everybody. So the differentiation thing, that's huge. Coming from the marketing world, I was a gym owner too, obviously, but I have a pretty strong bias with marketing and sales, as everybody knows. And, one of the things that I always tell people is like, you don't want to be a better version of the same thing. You want to be, sure, maybe you serve the same niche and unique pocket of people, or it's a similar like base thing you're offering. But in order to stand out on the marketing end, like it has to be different. So how do you have the foresight, or like, I don't know, what came in your mind that was like, yeah, I got to be different, right? Versus like what most gym owners do, especially like CrossFit gym owners, they just try to do a better version of the same thing. And I guess it's built into the methodology that like, if I have a better time than you, then I'm better than you. Maybe that's the mindset that some carry. But, for you, the first thing you just said was different, not better.
Right. I think there's some like deeper layers to that decision-making process. Obviously being different, right? But also and you've definitely seen this, Will, right? Like not all CrossFit gyms are created equal. And unfortunately, the populace doesn't know that, right? We know that as gym owners, but the population does not understand that CrossFits are affiliates. They're not franchisees. So, you can go to any Orange Theory and it's probably going to be a fairly similar experience. You go to a different CrossFit gyms, I mean, the experience could vary, extremely. You're going to have, someone who's just got their CrossFit level 1, is barely coached, right? And, maybe they have their own philosophy behind things, and you have another guy who's coached for 10 years and is really gifted, right? And so there's just a wide range. And what the problem is there's so many people out there that have had bad experiences, with CrossFit. And, I love CrossFit. I know it very well, but there are some things that I disagree with. And I didn't want people to, when they stumbled across our business, to think that is just a CrossFit gym. I wanted them to see it as something brand new. So that way they can look at it with a fresh set of eyes. And when people come in, because I tell them over the phone, it's a very visual program structure. And when they get in here and I show them how the level system works, they right away it clicks. It's like, oh, okay, this is something new. This is something different. And I could see how the progression would work from beginner to advanced. And so for a lot of those reasons, there's some other ones in there as well, but for a lot of those reasons, that's why I decided to like make that shift to, that's one of the reasons why we're not affiliated with CrossFit is I don't want people to come in here and just compare, apples to apples, this CrossFit gym versus this CrossFit gym. I'll just go to the one that's cheaper. It's like, no, I want them to choose us, not because we're cheaper, but because they align with our style. They want to do, linear progressions on occasion, right? They want to see progress. They don't want to just come in, do a random workout and call it a day. And when you differentiate yourself too, you can command to a degree your own prices. Because if you're just competing with other, like I was saying earlier, apples to apples, not apples to oranges, they're just going to go with the cheapest apple oftentimes.
100%. Yeah. What you just said is so true. And even other people in the fitness world that aren't from the CrossFit culture, if you will, just other types of like fitness methodology, people, even guests I've had on the show that aren't CrossFit guys, when I hear them talk about CrossFit, they paint in very broad strokes as if they're kind of like all the same, all the gyms, like you said. And we know it's not. Some of the best trainers in the world have dipped their toe in the CrossFit waters. It's almost like mixed martial arts, where it's like you've had like the best endurance coaches, the best strength athletes come in and provide coaching to some of the best CrossFitters in the world, and that's trickled down to the ground floor level of training. So you have some of the best and brightest minds, but like you said, there's also a big disparity in that the bottom is like the lowest common denominator is pretty low, and there's no one regulating that, right?
And it's a darn shame too. And this is something that's been kind of a top of mind lately is what different levels of coaching should charge essentially. And if you think about it, let's use Orange Theory as an example, right? Orange Theory, the coach does not have to be that skilled, right? It's running, it's rowing, and it's dumbbells. And there are TVs on the wall showing the person what to do. There's very little cueing, very little skill involved, right? You can pretty much just train a coach up to be a pretty good cheerleader. And this isn't dogging on Orange Theory coaches at all. I'm sure there's fantastic ones. All I'm saying is the barrier to entry is, and the breadth of the skill that you need is pretty low. You think about a CrossFit coach, like, good grief, you have to know everything. You have to know gymnastics. You need to know your monostructural, advanced weightlifting movements. You need to know accessory work. You need to know, it's every type of fitness combined. So you need to know a lot. And so just from that, to be a good like CrossFit style coach, you should charge more just from that, not less. And I see so many CrossFit gyms that charge way less than an Orange Theory charges. That's just one reason. Another reason is the amount of people you can fit in a class. And Orange Theory can fit tons of people in a class because there's no barbells. Like if you're using barbells, you're going to have, half the room available for clients to come in. And so just from not being able to fit as many people in the room, you should be having to, just logistically, you should have to charge more. And I think it's just interesting because those are, I think, things that people just don't think about, especially not just coaches, but like, especially, just the average gym goer. They don't think about stuff like that. They're just like, this style versus this style. How much does it cost? It's like, well, think about what's behind that cost and the skill required and the logistics required behind that cost. Like barbells, are you kidding me? You can fit like 3 people with dumbbells for every 1 barbell person. Yeah.
Yeah. Way better usage of space. It's unfortunate, but it's also to your benefit at the same time, right? That they all lump each other in together. And it kind of compels you to differentiate yourself and just be like, well, I'm just going to step outside the box entirely. And in a way, like, it's not like a lot of people have problems with that and say, well, why don't you just affiliate since you're inspired by CrossFit? It's like, well, there's a lot of technologies in the world. Call CrossFit a fitness technology because it kind of is, right? It's a new way of doing something. Technologies don't always look like software. Technologies can be like the car versus the horse and the buggy, right? It's like, it's a different way of doing something, but the car is got 4 wheels on it, just like the horse and buggy. It's inspired by it. Like, at the end of the day, you're looking at it and you're like, well, we're not doing the same thing. Sure, maybe there's squats and burpees and pull-ups, but like those things all existed before CrossFit too.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend cross training didn't exist before CrossFit did too.
Right. You're 100% correct. Here's the deal is like those movements you're going to find anywhere. Right. And so, and actually the reason I'm not affiliated with CrossFit, and that's a decision I might change down the road. I might decide to affiliate with CrossFit. It's just been, as someone was born and raised, like I did CrossFit before there was even really a CrossFit Games, right? I've done it a long time.
Yeah,
But
07's OG days, man. That's real OG days.
yeah, it's real OG, right? Like I was raised on it, and so as someone who loves it, the brand is just so all over the place and volatile right now, especially the last 5 years. I'd say it's been really volatile. And it's hard for me to peg down, like, is it time to affiliate? Maybe not. And so here's the thing. Their branding right now needs some help. Their whole company needs some help. And I'm definitely not in a position where I think that it would be advantageous to my members to affiliate. Like there's almost zero advantage to my members, right? I'd rather pay for something like Level Method, which, although it's not going to necessarily get me new members, right? People probably aren't going to be like searching for Level Method as much as they would CrossFit. It will benefit my members more. And so that's why I'd rather, as of right now, not affiliate with CrossFit, because I just don't align with their brand. The other thing too is, like, we really are different outside of just a Level Method system. I mean, CrossFit does not believe in linear progressions technically. And like, we do linear progressions, and we just got done with the deadlift a linear progression cycle. We have accessory work programmed after class with bicep curls and stuff. That ain't CrossFit. Yeah, it's not, it's just, and so like, that's enough of a differentiator right there to not affiliate. Like I said, I might change my mind down the road. It really just depends on, if I think if the juice is worth a squeeze. But right now I want to stand on my own two legs and not have to, rely on somebody else's branding. I want to create my own brand. And wow, branding is so hard. It is so much harder than I thought it'd be. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I like what you're doing, for what it's worth. When I opened my second gym and moved back to Arizona, we started it as a CrossFit branded gym. And then we didn't, the name was just what was available at the time. So we just took what they gave us. But as soon as the name we wanted became available, we switched. And when we made that switch, we actually removed CrossFit from like the main part of the name. It was more or less like, we happened to also be a CrossFit affiliate. For us, we did that because we had members that had, back then it was like, this was 2014, 2015. People were, if you had members that came on as CrossFit then and you tried to change it, it was like they would legit leave your gym. For you, you've already they're not drinking the CrossFit Kool-Aid. They're drinking the Level Wad Kool-Aid. Yeah. It's your own brand of Kool-Aid. And I love that, man. And so when we meant to go switch, it got kind of caused more trouble for us because we weren't really trying to build we actually toyed around with de-affiliating multiple times because we never really saw any value from what it brought to us, even though I loved Greg Glassman and I loved, the spirit of the community and the methodology. And even back then, I even liked going to the games. It was super cool. It was super cool, those OG days, man. But then from a business standpoint, I'm like, what is this really providing me? And at the end of the day, like, if I've got members deciding to join me or not join me or stay with me because I'm CrossFit, like, what does that say about the brand that I've built? Right. So it took us a number of years to kind of like undo that when we moved to the branding that didn't include CrossFit in the name. And I like you said, it's hard. It is much harder.
It's so hard.
Yeah. It probably is a little bit easier for someone to just slap CrossFit on the end. But then the problem is you also are relinquishing the control of what that brand means and identifies with, which it's shifted a lot in the last 5 years.
It shifted a lot. And to be fair, like back in 2013, 2014, man, those are glory years. I mean, the brand was way stronger back then. And I think a lot of people kind of knew what it meant at the time. Then we kind of saw towards the end of, the early or the late teens, like 2017, 18, 19, there was a bit of a divergence between the, sport and gym, or like sport and health side, right? There's a bit of a divergence. And then it's just been, since 2019, it's just been absolute chaos, which is sad to see, but love the methodology, love the original like manuscripts, and their way of training coaches and trainers is just, I mean, bar none. I've done exercise science from WSU, and they do a great job, but that's more like science based. Like it's not going to help you on the floor as much as the CrossFit training programs will, because they do such a good job of teaching you how to teach, see, and correct, and manage group classes and have presence and attitude. I mean, they're just so good at that. Part of me was kind of just like, man, what if you would have just focused on that? What would the brand be today? More of it as an educational brand. Just something that I sometimes think about, because that CrossFit Level 3 test is an amazing test. I've taken lots of tests in exercise science, and there's some good tests in there, but the CrossFit Level 3 test is like, man, that is a great test. Like, you have to have been like an active coach for at least 5 years, read tons and tons of material from lots of different parts of health and fitness. Like, you can't fake it. Like, you've either lived and breathed it for at least 5 5 years or you haven't. And like the ability for them to put together a test that comprehensive, I mean, kudos to them. I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. I remember doing the level 2 when that one first kind of like came about. Well, I think it had been out like a couple years when I finally did it, but this was like, 2013 or something like that. But like they've always done a good job of like each step being like an order of magnitude better for like those of us that like know the doctrine like super deep and love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, getting
Yeah.
into like the metabolic pathways. I love that stuff. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like
Who
level
doesn't?
2 is super hands on. It was like it took everything
Yeah.
to level 1 and like let's do it in a room together,
Yeah. And I still use that stuff to build coaches today. In fact, today's actually coaching assessment day. So at the end of each month, we assess all our coaches. And that's actually what I did earlier this morning. I got another coach to assess later today, because you start realizing when you're first getting into like coaching and training, you truly, at least for me, I truly didn't know like what made a good class or a good coach. It's just like, it seems so kind of like pie in the sky. Like, I guess, because as a client, you're like, I guess that was a good class. I'm not really sure why it was a good class, but it was a good class. And then like, once you start diving in deep and you start looking at everything that's happening underneath, the waters, so to speak, it's just like, wow, there's so many nuances and details happening there. And if you want to be a professional in this space, which, a big goal of mine, and I definitely want to dive into this here in a second, is to create careers that pay well, that you can have a livable wage on for coaching staff. And in order to develop professional coaches, it takes time. It takes time. It takes pouring into them. And it also takes them making enough money, because that's the other problem, like I was saying earlier, of a lot of gyms not charging enough, is they can't retain anybody. And so you get this, this revolving door of trainers coming in and out all the time that are here for 6 months to a year and gone. I can't remember what the stat is, but it's like 9 out of 10 trainers quit in their first year. It's something like that, something crazy high. And the hours suck usually, right? The pay sucks usually. And so my goal here is to make good hours, good pay, and create professional coaches that stay for a long enough time for them to reap the benefits of being a good coach. And that's like one of my main goals. Can I share one of my epiphanies with you on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a perfect segue. I was actually, if you didn't say if you didn't force it upon me, I was going to ask you what you mean by create careers that pay livable wages, and to unpack that for everybody, because that's super valuable.
Yeah. It was actually at the BLG Live in Phoenix. And this was, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And, finally had some time and some space, because I was coaching, every single class, darn near. I had some help from Coach Tom and Coach Ray, and a little bit at the time from Coach Lisa as well. But for the majority of the time, I was coaching the vast majority of the classes. Thank God for those 3 people, though, because I'd probably be dead if it wasn't for them. But, I was down there and I was chatting with the other gym owners. I chatted with you, actually, you and your wife, Erin, one-on-one, or 2-on-1, I should say. And, we were essentially talking about how like I can no longer just run this show by myself. Like I have to hire, staff, and not just like some occasional part-time help. Like I really need to have like staffing. And, I realized how selfish I was, because I was thinking about it and I was like, I am taking all of the opportunity and just giving it to myself here. And not only was I being selfish, but I was also being a bit of a coward, because I was like not taking I was kind of unwilling to take the risk of hiring somebody. And I say take the risk because when you hire someone full time, that is a scary thing. I remember my first full-time hire that I made after I went to the event, and that was one of the scariest things I've done. Probably one of the scariest things I did, business wise, was signing the lease originally. That was really scary, because, you're like, I don't even have any members yet, signing this big lease. Probably one of the second scariest things was hiring my first full-timer, because I'm like, this person's counting on me to not let them down. Like they're stopping what they're doing. They're quitting their job to go all in with me. So I have to deliver. And so when I had that epiphany, though, I'd realized that one of the main gyms in the area is a big box gym. It's kind of like, like YMCA size, but they're like the bad boys in town. I'm not gonna name their names. Everyone in Wichita knows who they are. I think they have actually like 60 locations now, including out of state. So they're huge, right? They're big, but they're the bad boys, and they're part of a family who is considered like the bad boy family. They own lots of businesses in the area. They've got caught doing some not so great stuff. And I realized that person created more opportunity for other people than I did. And I realized that person, although as much as other people, like to, dump on them and, say how awful they are, I'm like, yeah, but how many careers and livelihoods has that guy produced? Like 1000x the amount of careers that I've given. And so I was like, if that guy who other people, dislike highly can be, selfless enough to create those career opportunities, then sure as heck I can. And so that's when I decided, like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing right now. I need to start making careers for other people. My workload right now is not sustainable. Like, I have to do something different. Otherwise, it's just selfish and it's not going to pan out.
Yeah, it's like an evolution or like a maturing of a self-employed person, right? Like, because you first start the gym, any business, level one is always, like, we're doing the level method for gyms now. Level one is always like, just get it going, right? Like, chase your passion. You get to coach classes and lead people, and it feels amazing, right? You're like, sweet. There's a few people that showed up today that join the gym, and I get to do this. Cool. Let's get rent covered and make a few bucks, right? Like, that's like level one that we all get to, and first year or two or whatever. And then like level two is like what you're talking about here is like, find, not only share the, find a little bit of leverage, but also share the wealth, right? Like, leverage is like the leverage of labor is like, there's other people that also want to do this, for a living and are willing to do it at a price that most of us can afford if we make a little bit of money. And so we can pay them so they can do what they're passionate about, but we also get a little bit of leverage out of that. And that now we can stop being stuck in the business all the time. So we can actually go work on the business a little bit.
Yeah. And that's a scary leap to take, because you look at the numbers and you're like running them through your head and your Excel sheets, and you're just like, it's going to be tight. Like, if we hire this person on and we pay them not that great of a wage, it's already going to be tight. But then you just look at it and you're just like, we can't do what we're doing now forever. We have to do something different. And so I'm going to take the plunge, and we will figure this out, which a lot of entrepreneurs, you like to say, build it as we fly it kind of thing. That just comes with the territory. You just got to trust that you're going to catch yourself and take that leap. I think it's the book Traction, where there's the entrepreneur like hanging off the edge of a cliff by like a vine, is like, is like, just let go of the vine. And it's like, but what if I let go and there's nothing there? And like, he lets go and it's like, his foot's like, 6 inches from the ground or something. Yeah. It was like totally fine the whole time, but it is a scary moment. And, thankfully from guidance that you gave me directly, I was able to, hit the ground running on other things that were able to cover her and some, essentially, and also give her pay raises over the years, you know what I mean? And hire on more staff. And so, going back to creating careers, like, now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm so excited to be the one creating those opportunities for professionals in an industry that's lacked professionals for a long time. And I mean that not in a derogatory way, but just in like a very real way. Like, you can't become a professional if you're not doing it for several years. And I understand why people don't. It's because it doesn't pay enough. So we owe it to our staff to step out of their way and give them roles and responsibilities that we can trust them to perform and reward them for, and build opportunities that they'll stick in the game for a long time.
Yeah, it's always a really scary part of it. And but obviously you've been at it a little while, and you've been able to make some iterations. And I know with your like systemized approach on everything and just your mindset being around that, I know you've built some systems around the team and also for member retention. Because one of the hardest parts of running a group training gym when you step out is keeping the members engaged and kind of preventing churn, because it's not you doing everything, right? So how'd you navigate those waters? And I imagine at first there were some setbacks and some lessons learned, and you had to iterate and be like, okay, we need to install some things to make it more than just, me coaching every class is the value they're getting. So how did you navigate that?
Yeah, that's actually a really precise question, because right before I actually signed up for BLG, I had started making my initial shift. So I wasn't fully over things yet, right? I still was like, I was kind of like in this purgatory period where I was like, all right, I know change needs to happen, but I'm not really sure what that looks like. I'm not really sure if I'm ready to go all in on the change, because those epiphanies I just shared with you earlier, that's kind of when I like fully went all in. But kind of like that initial like questioning of like, being scared to stop coaching all the classes, that hit right before I signed up for BLG, I think in like June or May of like 2020. Essentially what had happened is we had I think 4 or 5 of some of my closest members that were OGs from the beginning, essentially some of the people that I opened the gym up for that really encouraged me to do that. They left and they went to another gym because they disagreed with me on some particular topic. And, obviously that really hurt, right? That was really emotionally challenging to overcome. But that's kind of also where I'd made the decision of like, look, if I can pour into somebody and give them my absolute best some of these people I had coached 7-8 years probably, right? And if they still leave after me giving them my absolute best every single day, then at some point everyone's going to leave, right? So it kind of almost gave me, I remember I was, I'll be honest, I was crying when that happened. And, through the tears, I told myself, I said, this is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm just one of those people that when like I'm at rock bottom, I'm just like, I'm just a really stubborn bastard. And I'll just be like, we're going to climb our way out of this hole. And I was just like, this is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. As much as it sucks, like, and I don't hate these people. I hate that this is happening, but, I wish them well, but like we're going to step out, version 3.0 from this. And so essentially, that's where I was like, something needs to change. And I need to have somebody else start coaching so I can provide opportunities for them and do other things to create more opportunities for more staff later.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes I've heard recently, this is like a new bumper sticker quote, as Jerry Trubman likes to call them, that I've assigned to I've added to the repertoire, was that momentum and optimism get you into your messes, and the only thing that's going to get you out of them is momentum and optimism, right? This one hit for me because, like, as you know, I'm working on a house. I've been building this house, and it's been like the never-ending like project, like so supposed to be a 4-month like lipstick remodel has turned into like a full-on structural rebuild, and like twice the money and twice the time, and city inspectors and permits and all this stuff. And man, there's numerous times this house has broken me, and I was like, and I heard that, and I was like, I bought this house with a whole lot of momentum and optimism. And I looked at it with the crooked awnings and the ridge line of the roof, knowing that that's going to need to be fixed. And that's a big deal. Things that like anybody looking at it would be like, this is a big project. I was like, I'm excited to take it on. I want to do, I've done some kitchens and I've done some bathrooms, but I want to do the whole house custom, And then like in the darkest period of this time, which was a couple of weeks ago, when a city inspector just showed up out of the blue and decided to just say like, hey, stop everything. We need to take a deeper look. I was like, I had to tell the guy to bare my soul. And I was like, man, you hold the key to this house's future. I'm like, if you tell me I can't finish this thing, I'm going to leave it sitting here unfinished for the next 6 months and take a vacation from it. I'm like, I don't care if it sits there. I'm like, I am burnt out on this. Luckily, we came together. He came through a walkthrough and we moved on. But anyways, I heard that quote like at that exact moment before it turned around for the better. And I was like, yeah, the only way is through, So yeah, during that time and all that, of making that step to like level 2, like we talked about, of like, okay, finding some leverage, building a team, that can be a little scary. Was that part of like the motivation to look for help a couple months later and reach out to, companies like us, like Big Little Gyms?
Yeah, that was one of the motivations. Was I was just like, it was actually kind of on accident, because I was like, for context, the first 3 years of being in business, we didn't even have a website. We doubled our membership base from 68 to around 145 over the course of those 3 years, with literally no online presence advertising whatsoever, purely from word of mouth referrals and just having crazy low churn. I mean, and like, I know people say they have low churn, but dude, yeah. I mean, you don't get from 68 to 145 with zero marketing and not having, low churn.
Yeah, you're keeping everybody. I mean, people don't leave Wichita, Kansas, apparently.
Well, that's the thing, actually. So I'm glad you said that. So, it was really cool, because in its early days, the name didn't really matter. I mean, we had no Google presence or anything. And it was almost kind of like having a speakeasy, right? You had to like know somebody who knew somebody to like, hear about this place. And that was a cool element. Don't get me wrong. Another paradigm shift, though. Let me hold off 1 second on the paradigm shift, because this is another key paradigm shift. So we gradually started losing members from like 145, down to 140, and then eventually down to probably around like 105, 115. It's hard for me to know. It was right around 100. It's hard for me to know exactly, because we also were moving from Zen Planner to Chocolate Pro at the time. And so when I look back at those numbers, there's like some people that like took a couple months to like shift over. And so it's all convoluted. But it was right around there. And that's when I was starting to think, okay, I probably should build a website.
That's because like, easier for people to actually do business with us.
Yeah. And on top of that, though, I think what happened was this. So like, people are really excited. You have a new gym that you just found. So there's that initial excitement, right? You got your early adopters, right? And then, well, 2019 is when I opened. What happens in 2020? Gridlock. Gridlock. No one's moving in. No one's moving out. Everyone's staying put for, at least a year and a half or 2 years. So, that took me from like day 1 to year 2, 2.5 of pretty much having a gridlock. So it's really easy to get referrals when no one's moving in or out of town. Well, when people did finally around the 2.5 year mark, gradually start moving out of town for jobs, I'd lose this member. Hey, see, I'm going to Arizona, this member, hey, I'm leaving, going to Kansas City, for job opportunities, school, everything's so opening back up. Well, guess who I'm not getting? Everybody else moving back into town, because those people moving into Wichita for job opportunities, they don't know anybody yet to get referred here. And so I was like, I could just see it happening on like kind of like a global scale. I was like, dang, this is not good. the fun's over. And so essentially I was like, I should probably build a website. And so when I'm trying to build this website out, I'm like, I am terrible at this. This is not wheelhouse at all. Somehow I end up on a call with you. I think it was through something on Facebook. I think it was some type of like, that might have been the CrossFit affiliate owners group. I can't remember what it was. It was probably that.
I probably sent you a friend request. I was back in the early days, man. I was in those groups. I was friending everybody and sending.
You were hunting and farming.
I was hunting and farming in the OG days. I mean, we still do now, but like back then, it was,
Yeah. You were hunting and farming like crazy, man. But I want to say it was the CrossFit affiliate owners group or something. I saw you pop up, and I actually really wanted you just for the website at first. I just wanted you to handle my website. Little did I know that you would have a more of a coaching presence in my life, which I'm very, very thankful for. So it was one of those things that was kind of unexpected, but a huge blessing. Dude, I totally just forgot what we were talking about. We were talking about acquiring new customers.
Just getting your stuff together on the marketing end. Like, you didn't have any. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Paradigm shift. All right. So, we get to about year 3, and this is shortly after kind of getting with BLG2. I realized, I had my paradigm shift with hiring staff. The other paradigm shift I had was like, not only obviously do you want to market to grow, right? But I genuinely, like, deep in my soul, looked around and I was like, I am doing people a disservice who would love to be members here, right? Would love to be members here and have no idea we exist. And when it comes from a truly like authentic place, not just like a marketing for dollars, but like you're marketing because you're literally trying to find those people out there. You're like a lighthouse, and you're like, for those of you that dig what we're doing here, this is it. Come over here. And like there's people that, I had someone earlier this week, she said, thank you, for changing her life and for being such a big impact. And, she said, hey, this is our 1-year anniversary, and she found us on an ad a year ago and signed up. And it was like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? That's why I'm spending all this time, energy, and money to market to people, is because I know there's people out there that would love to be here and that we could help. They just don't know we exist. And that's a darn shame. And whatever presence you think you have, it's like 1/100th, maybe 1/1000th of the presence you think you have. Like, no one knows who you are. Like, you can spend so much money and still nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, that's a common thing, right? Every gym owner thinks that they're competing against the guy down the road. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, most people in your town don't know either of you even exists.
Yeah.
Like your competition is not the guy down the road. It's like literally like them not knowing you exist.
Exactly. I hope every gym in town gets jam-packed full of people, because I mean, there's a ton of people here, and there's a lot of people that would love to be a part of this gym or the gym down the street, and they just don't know we exist because we suck at branding and we suck at marketing. And that's another fallacy I had to overcome. Was I used to think that if you're good enough, they will come, and I spent all my time just getting better at coaching, and just not learning about marketing. And I was like, and yes, to be fair, like, we did grow and we did have crazy low churn, but it's like, you have to have both. And you're genuinely doing, if you are a good coach, you are genuinely doing people a disservice, not letting them know you exist.
Yeah. That's so refreshing, man. And it's something, I mean, it's been part of our culture here at Big Little Gyms. We've had a lot of conversations where it's like the have-tos versus the get-tos. Yeah. And what's interesting, around the time you opened your gym was around when BLG started. And it was almost like there was this new generation of gym owners that were opening up gyms around that time, kind of almost like a second wave. There was like the early 2010s wave that was like almost everybody. And then like a lot of as time started to change, a lot of those gyms started to sell to like almost like either they went out of business or they sold to someone else, or the new gyms open by guys like you that have a little bit different mindset. And I would still say you're still far above in mindset to even most of those people, but it's kind of refreshing in that, like, I feel like there's a lot of people that opened up gyms in the early 20s in the good old days when it was like super easy, when it was really like build it and they will come. And it was like, I can't even take credit for my first gym in Southern California. Like, we opened up a CrossFit gym, like maybe 30 minutes from like the Carson, where the games was. And it was like the hotbed for CrossFit. And the culture then was like the most, I feel like, truest form that it all stemmed from back then was like in that California CrossFit days. That's where it came from, And I would love to say that I've always been good at marketing, which I have been, but I can't claim that with my first gym, because we just opened, man. It was like, you just opened up, and a lot of people back then that opened those gyms because they were just passionate about it. As things changed and it was no longer just building, they were coming. I think there was a lot of bitterness and resentment that those owners, some of them are still around, still have. And there's like, because of that, there's like a refusal to change and shift, And whereas like you came in with like this mindset, and I guess what I mean is like what you just said about like, I get to serve these people, I get to change it. Me not marketing to them is a disservice, versus like for those gym owners that are like maybe a little bit better and resentful and like about like having to market their business and like try to appeal to an audience that isn't just like all their perfect members that they've had. They almost look at it like, I have to do that. Oh God, I'm not looking forward to that. Versus like your mindset is one of like, oh, I'm doing the, like, I'm not being useful. I'm not providing the most value to the world if I don't find a way to get through to those people and create change.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man.
I mean, well, and you're right. It is beautiful. And, here's the deal though, is it's a lot of freaking work. I mean, it is a lot of work. And, there's a lot of hardworking people out there. Don't get me wrong, in the gym space. There's a ton of people that deserve to have more clients than they have because they're really hard workers. They really care. But man, like, you got to go through hell sometimes with this marketing. But when you have a strong like reason behind that, like I shared with you just a moment ago, it will help you get through the tough times. I actually had this conversation with someone who just signed up for a gym last night. It's around 6:30 p.m. I asked him how he found us and why he signed up with us. And, I shared with him, I said, thank you so much for telling me that you are excited to be here. And that the reason why you signed up is because we did this, and this, over the phone and stuff. And he's like, well, yeah, you took the time to call me and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, thanks for sharing that, because you'd be surprised at the amount of people that cuss me out, hang up on me, this, that, and the other. Said I literally had someone this morning, cuss me out. And even though they asked, and he's like, why did they do that? And I'm like, the internet's a wild place, man. I don't know if you've been recently, but the internet is a wild place, and, especially social media. So like, if you have any presence on there at all, you're going to get some wild interactions. And, and it's not just doing that one day, it's doing that day after day after day, year after year after year, having those. I mean, you see our calls. I mean, I think I made 300 something phone calls last week, and, that's a ton, that's a crap. I mean, that's over 50 calls a day. That's, right around 350 calls a day. Right. So it's a lot of work. But if you are doing it for the reason that you want to find those people that truly would love to be in your facility, and then the impact you have. Here's the thing. If you really are a good coach and you have a growth mindset, this will make you better, because when you learn how to navigate the landscape of getting new clients in who don't really know who you are or what you do, and might not have nearly as much of an affinity with fitness, if you're able to take someone like that and, help them have a life transformation and stick around for a long enough period of time to do that, and not just have them funnel right back out the door, like, you will get really good at your craft, and you will learn to unlock new skills that you might not have had before. Like, our accountability program is like next level. I mean, we have ramped up our accountability program like nothing else. It's really easy to help someone out who's done CrossFit for 5 years and they move into town and they're like, hey, can we sign up with this, this CrossFit gym or that CrossFit gym, right? But if you're taking someone off the street who's really struggled with being, in shape over the years, right? They really struggle with even going to the gym, and they hear about this gym, my gym, and they're like, who are you? What do you do? Are you like this? Are you like that? Right? And you transform that person, like, that is a hard thing to do. But if you do a good job, not only will they stick around for a long time, but they'll tell their friends. And then that's where the retention and the referral loop continues to spread outward.
Yeah.
I feel like I just rambled for a long time there, but I hope that made sense.
That was all gold, man. No, it was all great. I mean, everything you're saying there is true. What's funny is I'm going through my like outline and checklist of questions to ask you. You're like literally ticking them off. One, and you're just going from one to the next, and you're just ticking them off. So like you're right on track, man. No, this is fantastic. And what you just said is so true in that, a lot of gyms early on, like you initially experienced, just grow by word of mouth, and that's great. But most people don't have that many friends, and eventually at some point, all their friends are there at the gym with them. How do you continue to grow word of mouth? It's like, well, you can't. Word of mouth really isn't an acquisition channel. It's really something like, okay, cool. If we do a good job, we'll get some. It's kind of like cherry on the top, but you can't rely on that. And most gyms will start to kind of flatline between 100 and 150 members, because the few people that were going to refer, those early adopters that were going to refer all their friends, have done it. and they start to taper off, and you need to start actually acquiring new members, and then that continues to feed the back end secondary, word of mouth referral channel, right?
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. And that's where people are like, well, marketing doesn't work. And it's like, well, maybe it's because you're just really new at it, like I was, and not good at it. And you're probably trying to do it on your own. And your systems that you have in place probably aren't nearly as up to snuff as you need them to be. Like, they're just not. Like, you're dealing with two totally different people here, and it's a lot of work to make those robust. And you also just have to be okay with not always finding the person that is the right fit for you either. That's part of marketing, right? Like, you've probably bought a pair of shoes that you thought looked cool, and then you're like, you know what, they're actually not that comfortable, right? And that is just a landscape. And you will have to churn through people. You will have people come in that they might not dig it as much as they thought they would, or maybe it's just not a good mutual fit, and you can refer them to a different gym down the road. Like, that's part of being having integrity, right? Is like just being like, hey, this might actually not be the right fit for you right now, but maybe this would be. And but over time, you will find those people that just, they love it. And if you do a good job and you really serve them to the best of your abilities, then they will stick around, and then they will refer like-minded people. And gradually, over hundreds and hundreds of calls and appointments and meetings, and just working your butt off to service people to the best you can, like, it will grow. It will grow.
Yeah. A really strong why is super important, man. That's what I kind of hear you keep saying, is that like you have a why that's so powerful that you can set, you could set your own personal, and given, I know you, I think you like to do the sales and marketing stuff, but so do I. And there are definitely days where this isn't necessarily what
yeah.
This is tough today. I'm having a hard time motivating today. I don't know that I want to make 50 phone calls today, but
yeah.
Then if you look at your why, you turn and you look, and whatever, say it's right there on the wall or whatever figuratively it's in your head, that motivates you to get the job done. You're like, well, this is what we got to do today, because this is what we stand for. And that's a form of integrity that and integrity, people always look at it outwardly, like what you do for other people, but it's having a form of integrity with yourself. This is the kind of person I am, the kind of person I say I am, and I have a stack of proof over here that proves it, that I can look at.
Yeah. And I think too, it's just like any skill, like, I have learned to appreciate marketing and sales and all that, but it's definitely a learning curve, because you're just so bad at it at first. And man, I'm still like, building a brand and marketing is just it's so big. It's so much harder than it looks. And you look at now that I own a gym, and now that I kind of am starting to see the forest for the trees, I'll probably look at this 10 years from now and be like, that guy knows nothing, right? Like, I'm sure you look at past things that you thought, and you're just like, I can't believe I used to think that, right? And so I'm sure 10 years from now, I'll be like, wow, what were you even talking about? But like, I feel like I'm starting to see the forest for the trees kind of thing. And I'm starting to realize like the power of companies that are franchises, and they already have the power of the brand presence. They already have the playbook. They already have everything set. They have all the plays set out for you, and you just have to execute. Being an independent gym owner, you have to make something from nothing. You have to build something from scratch. You have to determine what all of the little components of your business look like. I mean, something and I know this sounds silly, but like something as simple as like creating Milestone award prizes for when members hit like their, third class, sixth class, 50th class. That took so many decisions and so much work, and looking at different vendors, and like I got this level wad coffee mug right here, right? Like, how much work that took? Like, that took a ton of work. You're going in Canva and doing different designs and stuff, and like you placing these, looking at, shopping around, placing different orders, and like, you open a franchise, all that's pretty much all that's already done for you. You just get to put your head to the, your nose to the grindstone and execute. And when you're building a brand from nothing, you have to be the one making all of those tedious decisions and executing on top of that. And it can be really overwhelming at times, because you're the one designing everything from the ground up.
Yeah.
But there's something cool to be said about that too, because, you're kind of standing on your own 2 feet and, bringing something interesting and new into the world.
Yeah. Well, you know better than anybody, man. I mean, you have that military background, and those are usually some of the first guys that get this. And Michael Anders, a friend of both of ours who's been on the podcast as well, has said it really, really well, that like, I always butcher his quote. And I think it's a quote that he repeats from somebody else, but it more or less has to do with like, like that which is considered necessary cannot be labeled as inconvenient.
Yeah.
Right.
That which is necessary cannot be perceived as inconvenient.
That's what
Michael's
it is. Yeah,
quote.
there it is.
Yeah. I memorized it.
Yeah, me too. I always butchered it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's more along the line. It's basically along the lines of like, this is what you signed up for. You chose these lofty goals. Momentum and optimism got you here. You know what I mean? The
Hmm.
decision.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit hard. How convenient that it's a little bit hard when the thing you knew, if you were thinking clearly when you started that you knew you might have to deal with someday is now here in front of you and you have to figure it out, right?
Yeah. And personally for me, and I think you're like this too, Will, based off of all of our conversations, is like I have found over the years, a lot of life is just knowing what makes you tick and who you are. And man, it feels like it's taken a while, but I feel like we're finally starting to get there where I'm just like a little bit more self-aware of the things that, make me tick. And one of those things is I just know that I'm one of those people that I have to put myself in a situation where there's no alternatives. And you like the phrase, burn the boats. And actually one of the first times that I did that was joining the Marines. I was just like, I know I need to grow. I know I want to, because that's a scary thing. Like you're, signing up as infantry, right? Which is like super deadly. You're not promised anything there. You have no idea if you're going to get the exact job that you want. And it's 4 years of your life, and it's just, it's super volatile. And you literally just are just like, you just make that decision of like, I'm just going to commit and see what happens. And that's a very scary like trigger to pull. But like, I realized, especially after making that decision and just going all in, that like, it's amazing what you can accomplish when there's no alternatives. Like if your back's against the wall, you are capable of so much. Yeah. But if you're, running this, and like you see people that have all these businesses and stuff, and some people are exceptional, right? They're really good at it. But other people, they're just like, they're never getting into the weeds on any particular thing. And they're always having an out. It's like, man, you'd be amazed at what you could accomplish if you just went all in on one thing and just gave it your all.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned about you, man. And just looking at your business, and it's kind of what you've done. Like, yeah, you have to create from scratch, but you've done a really good job leveraging systems, right? Like when you decided you were going to go to like a leveled model of programming, you found Level Method, or maybe it found you and gave you the idea, and you're like, rather than figure this out myself, I'm just going to subscribe to the methodology, and I'm going to be a good soldier, if you will. And I'm going to carry this out to a T. And you've done that. Yeah. And then you use Chalk It Pro and you leverage that system, and you let it handle your operational duties, and you fully leverage that system. And then BLG, firsthand experience with you here is like, you're one of the guys I'm always like, John Gallup's not always on every call, but I know he's working on something, because every time I see him at the live event, he'll like run down what he's done in the last 6 months since I've seen him last. And it's like, you've been checking all the boxes, watching all the calls, and you're implementing as you go, and you're iterating on all of it the whole time. And there's no shiny object syndrome. You're just like, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah, credit to you.
And, like literally right before we hopped on the calls, like, I was like, I had to take action on this thing. I've been kicking this can down the road, and I'm just like, I just have to do it. But, I think taking action is just, in the Marines, they tell you that, a decision is better than no decision, and taking action is better than not taking action. And like when, that's one of the things they really preach in the infantry is, you're talking about momentum earlier. There's like a momentum that happens in battle. Essentially, if you're always just constantly second guessing, trying to, overthink things, like it's just never going to work out as well as if you would have just picked a direction and just gone with it. Right. Because you're never going to have all the information to make a perfect decision. And as someone who, especially growing up, was a super OCD perfectionist, that's actually one of the things the Marine Corps helped me out with, is just like, you're never going to have all the information that you need. Like, and when it's time to go, you go. Like you're like, even if you don't want to go this direction, even if you think it might not be the right decision, like it's when it's time to go, you go. Yeah.
Awesome, man. A lot of deep, solid mindset advice all the way around, man. For anybody who's kind of like, not taking action and not moving forward, and maybe is trying to hold on too tight. Looking back, just some things that maybe share people that are in that previous phase to where you are now. Like you said, you're still learning, so it's not like this is a closed book, but you've had enough experience and wisdom, and you've done enough of the wrong things and enough of the right things to this point to, like, I think, answer this question, which is like, what would you tell someone like the John Gallups of 2019 opening his gym? What's something you would tell that guy?
That's a big question, Will. It's a big question.
A loaded one. I know you're gonna have a good answer though.
Oh God, now you're putting me on the spot, man.
Yeah.
Are you saying specifically for business?
Yeah, probably. Those that are maybe either that are earlier in the gym game, or maybe they're in a lull period. Maybe they didn't start their gym, but maybe speaking to that gym owner that maybe is in a spot, or just lessons learned and maybe from your stuckness.
Let me share a couple things then, if if I may. The first one is I actually do remember telling myself this. Like I told myself in my mind this when I opened my gym, that after looking at the landscape over the past essentially 10 years of being in the gym industry before I opened my gym, I was like, I will not be a martyr. Like I've specifically told myself, I'm like, I'm not going to be a martyr. I'm not going to do this just as like some passion project. Like I'm going to do this to provide an amazing service for an appropriate price that can provide for my family. So that was a big one. The other one that took me probably a little too long to learn is almost anyone who's successful in life has somebody that has paved the road for them and in front of them, right? They know what the next steps are, and they can essentially help you navigate a place that you've never been before. They'll help you show the way. And so you can essentially, and then that goes for almost anything in life. That goes for careers, business, fitness. I mean, athletics, like people are so afraid of hiring someone to help them, I think, because we all have pretty massive egos, especially entrepreneurs. And we have these massive egos, and we're like, if I ask for help, that means that I'm turd. And it's just not the case at all. I mean, you look at the top pro athletes, man, they still have coaches, right? Patrick Mahomes, amazing football player, still has a coach, right? Like he's not going to say, I don't need a coach, I'm the best, right? He still has a coach, right? Like, and you start looking at other people who are really successful in business, and all of them have coaches, right? Like pretty much anyone who's gotten anywhere set their ego aside and essentially was like, I'm gonna set that aside to learn and essentially pay for speed. You can do it yourself and take years and years and years and years to get to what might have only taken you 6 months if you pay for speed and set your ego aside. So. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
It segues right into what I like to always ask everybody on this show. Just as kind of a testimonial to Big Little Gyms. You don't have to go long on this, but just a quick little bit here. But what would someone who's considering working with Big Little Gyms in that same situation, what would you say?
Yeah. So Big Little Gyms originally I thought was kind of more just like a website type thing, right? And I was pleasantly surprised that it is a coaching, group, right? It's a group of gym owners, right? And then you're going to have people that mentor you through that. Like, Will, you've mentored me. You mentored me one-on-one, and so is Aaron, right? And so is other gym owners that are where I want to be. They've mentored me as well. And when you immerse yourself in a group of people who are better than you, guess what happens? You get better, right? And I'm going to bring it back to fitness. I know that's probably what everybody does on this podcast, but here's the deal too, is like when you go to a group fitness class and you have a coach on the floor, that right there, you're going to perform way better, right? The second element to that is when you're in a room of other people who are as in shape or even better in shape than you, it's going to be more fun, and you're going to have that iron sharpens iron attitude, and you will rise up with them. And if you're competitive at all, you will get better. Like I have, my guys in BLG that I've grown really close with, would consider some of them some of my closest friends. And, we talk smack, right? We're just like, we're in that friendly competition, and they're making me better on some things, and I'm hopefully helping them get better on some things. And when you have that camaraderie, things get better, things improve. And so when it comes to working with Big Little Gyms, one of the things that I think is unique about Big Little Gyms, having researched different groups over the years, is kind of going back to the franchise thing earlier. I think what people are worried about when they sign up for coaching is they think that their gym is super unique, which it might be, and they don't want to be put in this cookie cutter fix it type program, because that's one of the reasons why they probably didn't franchise in the first place, is they didn't want to be part of like a cookie cutter thing. They wanted to make their own thing, and they're kind of worried that if they sign up for something that I'm going to have to change everything I do. And the fact of the matter is Big Little Gyms is actually it's guidance, it's alternative ways to do things, and other gym owners will chime in on maybe specific ways they did it. But at the end of the day, like you have to do everything. Like you have to show up, you have to put in the work, you have to be the one to show up to the calls. You have to be the one to research topics. Like you have to still be that entrepreneurial person, even being a part of Big Little Gyms. But the guidance is there. The help is there if you seek it out. And if you have a growth mindset and you have really good work ethic, which it will require, especially if you're currently coaching a lot of classes and now you have to learn new stuff on top of that. But if you have that work ethic and you're willing to give it your best effort. I mean, I'm kind of nervous to think about what would have happened if I didn't join Big Little Gyms. You know what I mean? I seriously don't think like, because one of the reasons why I love it so much is because I've grown so much as a person and as a leader, because I've been exposed to people like you and other really amazing leaders in the program that have helped me become a better leader. I really think I would be letting people down in my town. I think I'd be letting my family down. I think I'd be letting my staff down. Heck, I probably wouldn't even have as many staff members as I do now. And I think I'd be letting my members down too. I think I just would not be providing the level of service to my community. And I would not be the leader that I've grown and continue to grow to be in my community had it not been for Big Little Gyms.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that, man. That means a lot. It's actually even hard to follow that up because it's like gushing, it's like the ultimate compliment, man. And so I'm super grateful for that. And the main thing that comes to mind when you say that is like what you're doing in your mindset was my same mindset. So I'm not at all surprised that we found each other and that we're having success working together, because, when I started Big Little Gyms, it was like, when I had my gyms, my goal was to do the same thing that you're doing and impact my community in the most positive way and be selfless, And so when I elevated to start BLG, which just kind of came to me. It wasn't like I woke up one day, I was like, I'm going to be a gym guru guy. It was like, it kind of organically came together. I was out there sharing all this stuff and people were like, hey man, can you coach me? And I was like, okay. Like, and it was at this time where like gym launch was falling by the wayside and there was nothing new. And I think I just happened to be right place at right time. And I'm super grateful for it. But the end game was still like through your gym, through John Gallup's gym, through Mike Wilson's gyms, through Michael Anders's gyms, I can still have the same profound effect on the greater the world, you know what I mean? Like through you guys. So I'm always leading with that same kind of, I guess, somewhat altruistic, selfless mindset, so it's like, there's alignment there,
Yeah,
so I'm
absolutely. In fact, it's funny you bring that up because I've actually thought about that exact thing. I don't remember if we had this conversation, Will, but I actually thought about that exact thing when I was kind of going through these paradigm shifts. I was like, when I was kind of making that switch to becoming an owner and not just a coach, and hiring staff, I actually thought about you. I was like, what would have happened if Will would not have ascended in his leadership role and started, delegating and ascending? How many people would be worse off had he not done that? Right. And he could have impacted his 400, members at the time. Right. Great. But like, how many thousands of people and gym members and gym owners is he impacting because he ascended? And then I kind of, took that and then kind of, brought it down to my daily decisions of just like, I have to ascend as a leader to provide opportunities for people in the area who would love to have a job here, right, and have a career here, and members as well, and our staff's family, our members, their family, the people they know. Like, I am doing other people a disservice by staying stagnant and not growing as a leader and ascending. So.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, man, I always think about like we had numerous like big things happen in our gym, in our community. Spark, this happened multiple times, but one that really stands out because he's a good friend still to this day, Dr. Matt. He was going through his residency while he was a member at our gym, and he's a young guy, but he met a girl at our gym. You know what I mean? Like they worked out together at a class hour, they started dating, and they're married and have a couple kids now, and that's not the only one of those. There's
Right.
I mean, from that gym alone, there's quite a few of those. But even if you only did that once, like look at the profound effect on generations that will be around long after we're gone, that like the inflection point was your gym.
Yeah.
And it's like how, by helping gyms connect with more people in their area and grow their membership, because I know their communities, because most of them are pretty well-meaning people that like their original impetus for starting the gym was like the passion behind bringing people together around fitness, the community.
I think I had two couples. I've had two couples in the last year get married who met through this gym. And that's pretty special. In fact, one of those couples asked me to officiate their wedding. So that was even extra special, right?
That's super cool.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah. And on the tip of like, the growth thing, like how many people would, my funny thing that came to mind when you were talking about like how many thousands of people, is my daughter was asking me in the car the other day, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, or no, my wife was, and my daughter actually said something really mean, which is like, grow up, he's 40. That's what she said. And I was like, Zoe, I still got things I want to do. And she's like, well, what do you want to do, Dad? And I was like, and it took a turn from like a joke and a jest to actually like kind of a serious answer, which was that like, and I just kind of spoke this as it came to mind. It wasn't like preemptive. I was like, if I could help the next like 1,000 businesses we work with, make an extra $1 million in their time being in business, call it over 10 or 20 years, say they make an extra $1 million because they did business with us over that period of time. I was like, what is that anyways? And my wife started just like, how much money is that you would generate in revenue, like in GDP, if you will?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's $1 billion. You know what I
Woo.
mean? And
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, that's pretty impactful. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a pretty, like, from a monetary sense, but like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of productivity you're creating, you know?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, man, really good stuff. Well, before we wrap up, a couple like rapid fire things. I have a couple rapid fire questions, but I also have a couple like practical, tactical, because we've been kind of up in the clouds a little bit. We've been doing a lot of mindset stuff on this call, and it's awesome. It's every bit of what everybody needs to hear. But I do want to kind of bring it down, down into the dirt a little bit, which is like, there's 3 ways you can grow a business, any business. You can get more customers, you can make them worth more, or you can keep them longer in the case of a subscription business model. We talked a lot about each of those things. We didn't get too specific. I know on the marketing end, you've been in there doing the, Google business profile to amplify your organic stuff. We got the website dialed in and it's converting leads. I know you run some ads, right? That's one of the things, that's one of the, I think, belief breakers you've had, right? You started doing some direct response ads and things like that. And that's also been pretty effective for you, right? On like the get more members part.
Yes. Yeah. It has been a learning curve, but it has been effective. And it was part of breaking one of those beliefs of like, I used to think marketing was like evil. Like you should be good enough where you don't have to market. And it's like every company markets, like Nike markets, right? Like,
how else are they going to find you and hear about you? Like they don't, maybe through their friends, but again, the volume there isn't high enough to reach our goals, right? So we need to get out there doing it. Yeah.
So marketing is one of the things that has been a big learning curve the last couple of years and has helped a lot.
Yeah. And then on the, keep them longer side, you talked a little bit about your like retention vehicle, your accountability. You have an accountability program. And before I ever jump on with a guest, I always look at their profile to kind of see what they're talking about lately, to kind of see what's relevant for them. And you had pictures on your profile. I think the most recent one actually is a picture of your wall. You have this, beautiful wall with plaques and all that. You don't have to give us like the exact, like the whole system and program, but like, you want to tell us a little bit about like what that does and how it works?
Yeah. So accountability, we essentially have, and this is what I talk to people about in our No Sweat intros, is we have the carrot method and we have the stick method, to be quite frank. And people kind of laugh when I say it like that. I'm like, the stick method is, if you don't show up for a certain amount of days, right, we're going to reach out and we're going to check in. We're going to see if you're okay. We're going to, maybe give you a hard time. You've just been lazy, right? But we're going to, get your butt back in the gym kind of thing, right? That's the stick method. And the carrot method, though, is much preferred. It's better for everybody, which works in conjunction. And essentially, that's where we have milestones established, whether that's, one of our favorite ones is attendance, right? Like you hit different, class attendances and you hit certain milestones and you get prizes for when you hit those milestones and, you're publicly recognized. And, you talk about the acronym DOPE, right? And how like dopamine and, serotonin and all that stuff, right? And so the milestone prizes are part of the built-in process to encourage people to focus on the inputs more so than the outputs. And when you have someone new come through your doors, you have to indoctrinate them into a new way of thinking and a new program. And having them focus on the inputs of, I'm just going to make it to the next class or just going to make it to 3 classes this week, like focus on that and good things will happen. The outputs of losing weight, gaining muscle will happen. And that's a paradigm shift for a lot of people. And so I think milestones, whether it's, member anniversaries, for like 2-year, 5-year, or, hitting, your 50th class or whatever it may be, I think are fun ways to gamify that system. Yeah.
Gamification is a great way of putting it. I think you have like different color plaques for like different levels, right? And those are on display, so those members get that recognition in house. And then that third one, I guess, of like how to make members worth more. I know it's something you've been working on. I think you've put in some of the Gym Offer Codex stuff with around pricing and things like that, and then more or less building an offer around value versus trying to compete on price, right?
Yeah, building an offer around value. And, when you do it right and you really do provide a good service and you show people how that service could help them with the problem that they're trying to fix. I mean, so many people are like, well, that's a steal. You know what I mean? Even if it's something way more expensive than, like, if you would have just told them that price over the phone with no context, they would be like, see ya. Like, no way. No way, right? But when they come in and you chat with them and you solve problems because, in my opinion, as a coach, like coaching starts as soon as you sit down with somebody. Actually, as soon as you pick up the phone. But when you sit down with somebody, like if you don't help them overcome their objections to get healthy, like you're letting them down. I think you can see the common theme here, right? Like it's not about money. It's about like, if you really truly care about somebody, right? Like you have to care about that person even more than they care about themselves. And like, you have to just be like, you have to just trust that you're going to look out for this person, give them the best effort possible. So yeah, so value creation, and you show them how this would solve their problem, because a lot of people don't even know what the problem actually is. And when you help them break things down into manageable, concepts to talk about, then people are like, oh, that's a steal. Yep. Especially when you show them the difference between like personal training versus, group access. And people are like, okay, so personal training's, let's say $100 an hour, right? That's $1,200 a month, if you came 3 days a week. Group classes are way more affordable than that. And you still get the benefits of having a trainer, and you get to have more fun with people doing it with you, for example, right? And just breaking some of those things down. So that's one of the ways we've helped, make customers worth more, so to speak, is you genuinely have to show the value you're providing, and then you have to follow through. And that is something that you will not be able to do if you don't have a team. You have to have a team. Like our team here is rock solid. I love every single one of them, but like we work our butts off. We really do. We are a lean, mean fight machine team.
Yeah, I believe it. Let's jump into the rapid fire round and bring it home, man. These are just a couple fun ones just to kind of, get to know John a little bit better outside of just the business and gym owner stuff.
Yeah.
It's still kind of fitness related stuff, I suppose, but a little lighter. But what's your, for you, what's your go-to workout and or like movement, or like, if you can only do one thing in the gym, what would it be?
I would choose some type of chipper workout for sure. Just like a variety of movements, a little bit longer duration, 30 to 50 reps kind of thing, with maybe some running in between. Like that's going to be my jam, dude. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of mixing it all up a little bit, everything.
Mixing it all up like a filthy 50 or something like that. That's going to be a fun time.
Keeps
Don't sign me up. Don't sign me up for Fran.
It kind of keeps the ADHD at bay, right? Like
it does.
That, like I just got to charge through this part because I get to do something new in a minute.
That's right. Right. Yeah.
I'm the same way. I always love chippers because I am, not necessarily diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I have that lean where it's like, I need something exciting to work towards. So it's like, even if I like the thing I'm doing, I'll get bored with it. So like, it's nice. Okay, 50 reps of this, then we move on to the next thing, Yeah, love it. Cool. I guess what's one book or resource that every, it doesn't even have to be a gym owner. It could just be a book you like that you want to share with people that are listening, whether they're a gym owner or a business owner or just anybody really.
I just got done with a book called This is Marketing by Seth Godin, and I just finished that. And it was really talk about paradigm shifting. It was very good for that. A little bit more high level. I wouldn't say it's like super tactile or tactful, tactical, but it is very interesting if you're in a position where you're wanting to break some beliefs. I thought that one was interesting. The other book I'd recommend is Traction, though, for sure.
Yeah, Traction's awesome. Definitely from a business operational, getting your stuff together and getting your, because they start from the top down, from like the vision and like, and then break it down into chunks and 10-year goal and then 3-year and 90-day and like all the way down to earth. It's really, really solid book. And then, Seth Godin's stuff is awesome. I've read a lot of his books, and you're right. It's not super tactical. Like you're not going to get like a marketing golden nugget out of it. You're not going to be like, hey, this is the copy you should use in your ads. What you're going to get is more principle, I would say, more principle and fundamental based,
Yes. Yeah, very high level. But both of those books are great. Traction, very, tactical, starts, top and works its way to the ground. That's the reason the book's named Traction. It's like the rubber meets the road on that book.
And last one for you. What does John Gallup like to do when he's not working out or working at the gym?
Dude, I'm a freaking nerd, man. I'm a nerd through and through. I love hanging out with my family, reading a book. Lately, I've been getting into more of like kind of like fantasy type stuff. I just got done through the Wheel of Time series, which is this huge series. But as someone who struggled reading in the past, it was a fun challenge to conquer because that's a big series. Playing some video games with my sons, a lot of fun, and that kind of stuff. I'm a pretty chill guy at home, to be honest. Yeah,
awesome. Well, what's a video game you're like playing right now, or when
currently my son and I are working our way through the newest Zelda game. We just got done with the Nintendo 64 Zelda game, which was a throwback to the 90s, and now we're working on the new one. So he loves it. He's starting to play it a little bit too. So it's like one of his favorite things to do. But yeah,
that's super cool. We're actually in a similar spot right now with my son. He just found, I don't know if you remember it from back in those days, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, where it's like a side scroller. And you have like multiple turtles, and it like you fight, and it's like they have a new version of it for the PS5, but it's not like a modern remake where they made it all 3D and everything. It's actually like the original like 16-bit version, like in the original form. And it's still, what's funny is there's something about games from that era where like they almost hit the sweet spot. Like everything, all the newer games are almost too cool and too modern, where like the storylines are almost too realistic and everything, where it's like the simplicity of just like side scroller game, like like Super Mario Bros. Or like Zelda, like that era of games is still like my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super cool. Well, awesome, John. Your journey is a perfect example of how great coaching and great business strategy go hand in hand. You made the decision to learn, adapt, implement the right systems, and now you've built a great gym that continues to thrive, man. And I know you got places you're still going, and I'm super excited to have you back on the show in a year or whatever to update us on what's going on, because I'm sure you'll have a whole slew of new lessons learned and value to share. I know a lot of gym owners listening will be able to relate to your story and take inspiration from it. So for our listeners who want to learn more about John and maybe spy a little bit on what you're doing over at Level Wad, what's a great way for them to check you out online?
I think going to our Instagram would be the best way. We've been working really hard the past year and a half now on our Instagram page. So go to Level Wad on our Instagram, or you can check out our website too. But our Instagram, I'm really proud of. So yeah.
Awesome, man. And for those of you that are listening, if you're ready to take your gym to the next level, no pun intended, like John has, visit biglittlegyms.com and book a free discovery call today. Join us next time for another inspiring guest who's making waves in the fitness industry. You won't want to miss it.